lights, cameras, action. Now let's engage in the dialogue. Let me browse through your mind like a catalog. Conscious metaphysics, allow me to break down the specifics. Educate, motivate. If you don't feel free, you can liberate. An LLC is what I'm building, the #1 podcast in the building. So let me slide on up in the Bentley truck in my Versace shirts. They can't get enough of this deep conversation, expansion, elevation. I'll send you a link you can tap in. It ain't quite what I used to do back then. Now I get it on the front and the back end. Multiple money streams keep coming in. Enlighten, empower, evolve. Enlighten, empower, evolve.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I know everyone is doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again. You already know why? Because I have another amazing guest. And like I said prior on the last show, I never get tired of these amazing guests that I feel that I attract into my experience. And they attract me as well. So yeah, let me quit babbling. But this amazing guest is a highly accomplished, certified life and health coach, a best-selling published author, keynote speaker, respected spiritual mentor, and life visionary. Wow. She's the owner of PIC Wellness, LLC, and a whole lot more. Without further ado, Martha Kartaoui. Did I say it right? Yes.
You got it. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And I don't have to, but I want to say that I'm a firm believer that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to decide on your own to spend some of your precious time in the history of your timeline here on Earth in the physical form, here with me, I'm so grateful. Thank you very much.
Wow, I feel equally as privileged to. I'm a huge advocate that time is finite and we have to use it in the best way that we know how. And
Right.
so, wow, that's a huge compliment and thank you. And I feel the same way.
Yes, absolutely. So, I just have to be totally honest. I want to talk about your accomplishments and where you are now and your passions, your gifts. But I also am curious because I saw something here. Can you give us a little backstory, a teeny bit of insight? You don't have to dive too deep on you were once involved with a religious cult. Can you give us a little backstory on that? And how did you come up to the realization that it was indeed a cult?
Yeah. So I'll give you the acorn version. And when I mean acorn
Yes.
version, I mean there's not enough time in the hour for us to dive into the details of it. But yes, I was born into a religious cult. My parents joined many years before I was born. So the cult was all I knew. And growing up, I knew we were different. I knew that the outside was the bad guys. That's what we were programmed to believe. I was programmed to believe we were the chosen people and that the outside wouldn't understand us. And so I navigated life the best way that I knew how, with my only perspective being the cult. And then, getting little glimpses here and there of the regular outside world when I went to public school, and things like that. But we were very isolated for the most part, and it was all I knew. I didn't know that people went to regular church. I thought everyone went to a place like I did and sat on your knees for 12 hours and waited for endless hours waiting for a sermon to start that may or may not start depending on the leader's mood or the leader's obligations or whatever it was, right? So we lived a very strict and dedicated life to the leader. I knew nothing else. I didn't know that there was something else out there. as I grew up and as I started to realize there was life on the outside. And my life was very difficult, as I share in the book that I just published. I experienced physical abuse, sexual abuse, spiritual abuse,
Wow.
brainwashing, manipulation, verbal abuse. The physical abuse was probably the worst, but the abuse that has stuck with me the most is the verbal abuse, because that breaks you down as a human being. That breaks you down as you don't have an identity. You don't have
Right.
a way to understand that I have worth. I
Right.
have something to offer, because he tore that away piece by piece, trying to break us down to keep us in the fold, right?
Right.
So, there came a time when I was 25 that I said, I want a different life. I've got to find a way to do it. I lived in the compound with him, which was not, everybody in the cult did not live in the compound. That was just, I was chosen and had to live there. So I eventually found a way to escape, and I share that story in my book as well. But it started, you have this idea of what life is like on the outside, and then you get out on the outside and you're like, holy crap, I know nothing about anything.
Right.
I was so brainwashed. I was
Wow.
so I was so scared.
Disconnected.
I was so
Right.
disconnected,
Right.
and now I'm entering this world at 26 years old and looking around and recognize nothing, because
Right.
I had spent the last 8 years completely isolated from the outside world and
Wow.
didn't know, the internet was a thing, right? Like,
Wow. Wow.
cell phones were a thing, and when I went in, those weren't. So there was huge changes that happened. 9/11 happened when I was in there. Like, a lot
Wow.
of huge changes happened while I was in the compound, and when I came out, now I have to navigate this thing called life.
Right.
And
Right.
so, just as arduous as my journey was inside the cult, my journey has been on the last 19 years outside the cult, because I've had to navigate all of my trauma. I've had to navigate the things that happened to me. And I've had to navigate and try to fit into a world that I knew nothing about,
Wow.
all while trying to, hold down a job and find a career and get married and have kids and all the things that I've gotten to do. But it's all been part of this journey that created me into the amazing human that I am today.
Yes. Excuse me. I have to just highlight that particular last statement that you just made. Instead of focusing on a victim mentality, what happened to you, and what happened to you was very, I can't even imagine that. And by the way, it did answer my question. How did you come to the realization that it was a cult? Oh, it was definitely a cult. I think I got that idea. Yes, but just you, the statement that you said, basically, to cut it short, long story short, everything you went through, you realize that it's all contributed to who you are today and who you are becoming. And that is not only taking ownership, but that's very liberating, that's very empowering, and it's just uplifting to hear you say that after you
And
gave us a brief summary of what you encountered and what you went through. Amazing.
and it's I say it, easily now, that this wonderful person that I've become, but I didn't like what I saw
Right.
for many, 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 many years. The
Right.
work that I have done has been difficult. I have done so many different modalities to heal through through the
Right.
trauma, and to re-identify with who I am, who God's created me to be,
Right.
and who I'm becoming in the scheme of the rest of my life, right? And so I get the pleasure of loving myself now, but
Yeah.
this has not been an easy journey, and it's not been an easy journey to look in the mirror and say, Martha, you deserve to be loved by yourself. You deserve
Yes.
to love yourself, because you are who God's created you to be, and you are doing your thing, and you are putting light out into the darkness, and you are sharing your voice and your testimony, and you are glorifying God in the midst of it, right?
Wow.
And so
Amazing.
that's why I can say so easily that of the wonderful woman that I've become, because this has been a journey. This has been a difficult journey, but I'm proud of the work I've done and the work I'm doing, because there's never a finish line when we're healing. This is an ongoing journey. There's never like, healed. No,
yes, I'm done. No, you're never, it's ongoing process still. And might I add that in my perspective, you have to continue reinforcing even that which you think you've learned already, to keep it there, and to, especially when you've been programmed in a different way for most of your life, you have to continue to offset that, because that type of thinking can creep back in if you don't stay on your A game, if you don't continue to work on yourself, if you can allow those experiences to seep back in and then identify with them again. So I understand totally and resonate with what you're saying, that it's an ongoing process. And I commend you on the journey and the courage that you've displayed thus far in regard just to yourself. And because I believe, I strongly know, I think I graduated to knowing in a lot of, in regard to a lot of different things. And I know that when we all take that position in ownership of ourselves and loving ourselves and working on ourselves, then it just radiates out into the world, and it just causes a ripple effect. And it's just amazing. Just amazing.
It really does. It really does. And what you were describing is triggers, right? Like we all have triggers from our past. And they can, no matter how much work you've done, they will surface when your life takes a turn, right? Like when you just because you're doing all of this work to heal and to find yourself and to find your self-worth and your self-love and all those things, that doesn't keep you from having to have life still happen, right? I still went through a divorce. I still went through a miscarriage. I still went through a broken engagement. I still went through career changes. I still went through all this hard stuff. But what it does mean when you've done the work and when you're doing the work and staying in the work, what it does mean is you will have tools, you will have resources to snap you back and get you back in alignment quicker.
Yes. See, I've described it the same way. And if you look back, I don't know which show, I've said that plenty of times. You're better equipped, is what I said, to flow and deal with what comes up in your life when you're working on yourself and you've been through, especially something as challenging and traumatic as what you've been through. Then that actually prepares you. Not saying that, like you said, that anything else isn't difficult. These other adversities are difficult too. But when you, quote unquote, feel like you've been to hell and back, you have your armor on to deal with those things a little bit better and snap back a lot quicker. And I like the way you articulated that. That's amazing. Also, because I want to ask a lot of things before we conclude, and we don't have very much time. But since you mentioned, and I would normally mention, ask about this at the end, but you already mentioned your book. So could you tell us the title of your book, a little bit of insight on that?
Yes. So it's Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivors. And I am one of 21 authors that wrote our short story, shared our story as part of the anthology of Breaking the Silence. And I just received my author copies today, which is here. So I'm really stoked and really excited that I got to share it tonight with you. Yes. But what this is, I really loved how they set this up, and how they set this up is they want you to focus on, the past, what happened, but then what are you doing now with it? And what are you looking to do with it in the future? So there's no victim mentality in here. This is all stories of resilience, about courage, about overcoming, about testimony, about just the human spirit and how our strength comes from within, but it comes from above, right? Like anyway, so I'm just privileged to be part of this anthology. And it was a labor of love. And I'm just really, really excited for people to pick it up. You will be inspired. You will cry. But just to know that you're not alone, right? We all go through these. We all have a story. I say this all the time. Every time I speak is we all have a story, right? Your story may not be that you grew up in a cult and you were abused and all the things that happened to me, but you have a story, and your story can be just as powerful as mine, but you got to open your mouth.
Right.
Got to open your mouth.
That's amazing. And again, the title of that book, and under what, authors or whatever, can you find it under? What name would you look?
So it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon right now, and it's Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivors. And I am one of the 21 authors, but you can also go to my website. You can also DM me.
While you're talking about that, can you audibly tell us your website? Now, I will indeed incorporate the website in the description of this final when it's edited so that people can just click on it. But for the listeners that are listening on their way to work or listening while they're meditating,
sure.
Can you tell us what your website is?
It's PICWellnessLLC.com. That's PIC Wellness LLC.com. And all of my handles for social media is Martha Kartaoui. And you'll spell that for them in the notes, because I don't think they'll be able to spell it. But all my handles.
Did you send me all your links? Okay, so then
I did.
I will copy them and paste them into the description, as well as with your amazing, heartfelt bio that touches a bit on just your amazing journey. So what led you to be a certified life and health coach, and what does that all entail from your perspective, in your style, your unique abilities?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I spent a lot of years in corporate. It was good money, but it absolutely sucked the life out of me. I am a people person. And the more work that I did, I realized that I had a gift that I could share by just being myself, right? And so as I evolved into my gifting, I realized that the things that I had been through only prepared me to help the next person, right? Help me to be able to have the tools to help the next person. So a couple of years ago, I was like, well, why don't I actually get certified and actually have something to offer, right? And so, because I'd been doing it on the side, right, for a long time with friends and family, and people are like, you've done so much work on yourself, like you can do this. And so I went back to get my credentials, because I really felt like it was important for me to have a roadmap, right? All the things that I had tried, all the modalities that I have used in order to recover from my trauma are helpful and useful, but I wanted a roadmap of really understanding the human experience and what that means after crisis, what that means after trauma, because we all go through things, right? It could it could be your parents got divorced, but that completely ripped your world apart, right? So when I talk about trauma, we could talk about big T trauma, little t trauma. Trauma is trauma because pain is pain. So I wanted a roadmap to really understand, where do we start when we're talking about overcoming trauma? Where do we start when we are talking about overcoming life crisis? And how do we navigate to be able to get to a productive end zone where you can feel as prepared for the next phase as I am, right? Because it's taken me 19 years, and I don't want to coach somebody for 19 years. I want somebody to get the condensed package of everything that I've learned in order to be successful.
Yeah, I get it. You took the hard route, not by your own choice, but it was set that way for you. And through the hard route, and I'm just using just the simplest way I can describe this, so that you could come with the blueprints to help people possibly take the easier route. And that's what, to me, that's what wisdom and knowledge and experience is for. That's what our experiences that we go through are for. And you are definitely tapping into that, just that is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So you're also you're a keynote speaker. Have you spoken to many people, and where, and just give us a little touch on that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I have started I started speaking at the end of last year, and I started with a group in Orlando, and it was my first group. It was a group of women, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to kind of get my feet wet. I was so engulfed with the love and support of these beautiful women that, allowed me to share their space. But that just gave me the ammunition and the catalyst to want to continue to do this further. I've started working with some schools and some children groups with the Boys and Girls Club, and been able to share just from a place of where I've come from and where I'm going, and they really resonate with that message. And so I've been really privileged to be able to do that, and look forward to doing more of that in the future. And I have some really cool projects coming up this year with speaking engagements, and being able to share my story, but also just to help help youth, help women, help, anybody that needs a roadmap, help them navigate, right? We're all meant to do life together. We're not meant to do life independently. We're not meant to do life alone. Like, it just feels like I'm being called to this communal resignation of love, of attention, of surrender, and of light. And so wherever I am asked to, share that, and share that spirit and that love and that light, I'll go. So I'm excited.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. And
Thank you.
I just have to highlight it again. It's just such an amazing, just listening to that. And what I mean by that is, whenever someone has went through things, and has come out the other end, and now they're using that as fuel to propel them and to assist other people. That right there, it's hard for me to put that in words, how that makes me feel, to just bear witness to that, and just to hear that. It's like a feeling it gives me. It's just like, wow, you know, it didn't kill you. It made you stronger, what you went through. And not that you wish that on you, but if you really look at it, especially you're on a conscious level now, that you can you got a vantage point. Like, I had to go through all this terrible stuff to propel me into this extraordinary being that I am now, that, like you said, God created me to be. And a lot of times, and I would say, in my perspective, most, if not all the times, extraordinary people start from very, noble. That's putting it very gently, but just even catastrophic, just circumstances, dire circumstances, terrible circumstances. And then they become, from that, it's like that's all the dirt. And then they're the flower that grows out of that. And all that filth that you were involved in, you're the flower that's growing out of it. And that's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
it's just proof of the human spirit, and the
Spirit.
strength of
Right.
the human spirit, and the resilience that we all have inside of us.
Right.
And there's nothing that hurts me worse than to see people that are stuck, right?
Yes.
People that
Yes.
just keep doing the same thing. There are lots of people from my group that have committed suicide, or have drug and alcohol addiction issues. And that breaks my heart, because
Right.
they feel so alone, they feel so isolated, they feel like nobody will understand them. And this isn't just my group, but just in general in society, when we become so stuck,
Right.
because we feel hopeless, we feel helpless, we feel like there's nothing out, nobody will understand us, nobody will get our pain, nobody. And what I realized years ago is that feeling of stuck is a choice. it's a
Right.
very difficult choice to sometimes say, I'm choosing something different today, and I'm just going to try it and see what happens.
That
But
is true.
every day is a choice, and
Right.
how we use it. We said this before we hit the record button. Life is not infinite. We all have this allotted time, and
Right.
it's how we use it. It's not infinite. How we use it is important. And so
Right.
knowing that we do have a choice how to show up, we do have a choice on whether to stay stuck. And anybody that hears, what I share is, I just want you to know you're not alone. And if that helps you get unstuck, if reaching out to me helps you get unstuck, then please do, right? Like,
Right.
I just want you to know you're not alone. And none of us are truly, truly ever alone, but we do feel very lonely when we're stuck in our pain.
Wow. And you just really authenticated and highlighted and reinforced the definition of this podcast and why I created it. One of the major reasons is to get to engage in amazing dialogues with extraordinary people such as yourself and get these messages out to people, especially those that feel alone. If it only reaches one person, that's fine. I'm doing what I feel my purpose is, and it's amazing when I can really connect with my purpose. And just listening to you just really just enforces that and affirms that I'm aligned with my purpose, because this is what I love, enjoy doing, is listening to amazing stories, amazing insights, knowledge, that you're sharing, and just real life, because we all are experiencing real life. And it's amazing if, you can speak to someone or reach out to someone that could really see things from your level because they've been through, something very traumatic. And then that you might not be in a position where you're feeling strong at that point. Well, this person, like I'm talking about you, is strong enough right now to help to pull you up, so that's absolutely amazing. Yes. So give us a little bit of also uh more insight on your LLC, PIC Wellness. Now, what is that all about?
So that's my coaching company.
Oh, okay.
So I have several different coaching
Okay.
programs that I do for life and health coaching, but
Okay.
it's also where I, store my podcast recordings and my book stuff. And it's just my PIC Wellness is the umbrella of my giftings. I'm also a therapeutic massage therapist. And so I've been doing
Wow.
that for 18 years. And I know that that's another one of my giftings is just being able to be a healer. But PIC Wellness is the overall umbrella of all the giftings that I share.
Yes, yes, amazing. And that's sort of like me, because I created Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved LLC, and that involves my speaking, my podcasts, music that I create, positive music that I create, and amongst other things, speaking engagements as well. So that is amazing, and that is another reason why that we are connected, work to each other. There's similarities, similar frequencies, similar
Vibration.
vibrations, and I firmly know that. I don't doubt it. It's not a coincidence, and it's amazing. So yes, before we conclude this segment, is there any, or are there any last, messages you want to leave us with? Anything you got coming up, or just an inspiring message for people, or just anything?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm doing a book release next Tuesday in Tampa. So if anybody's in the Tampa area, we're going to be at the Oxford Exchange Club. So check us out there. But I always want to leave everyone that I meet better than I found them. That is my mission. I feel that that is what God has given me to share, is that I always want to bring light and love into the situation. We all start from love and we all go back to love. And then in the middle is this human experience thing that we're calling life. But it's my mission to leave each and every person that I meet better than I found them. So I just want to thank your guests, or thank your listeners. And I want to thank you for giving me the platform to just be able to share authentically. And thank you for the amazing energy that you've offered. This has been just a blessing. So thank you so, so much.
Yes, yes, you're very welcome, and that's well received, and I reciprocate that too. Thank you very much for just being here and being yourself, and for sharing, being vulnerable to open up and share your truth, and at the same time, that vulnerability is displays strength and amazing. Thank you for being and continuing to be strong. And they say, I've heard this saying that you never know how strong you are until that's the only option you have. So, you have clearly
Been there,
displayed,
done that.
yeah, you have
Been
clearly
there, done that.
displayed, even from
Yeah.
the brief, details that you've shared, that you clearly have tapped into your strength, and may you continue to be stronger, and to share that strength with others, to empower them to be as strong as you are, if not stronger. That's
Yes.
amazing. And wow, thank you everyone for listening and or watching. Be sure to check out the Enlighten, Empowered, Evolve website as well at 333empower.com. You can leave messages on there as well if you think that you might be an amazing guest. You can also send an email, 333empower@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone. Oh, hit that like button on YouTube, that subscribe button, leave comments, share the video, with anyone that you feel that would benefit, and just get it out there. Get these messages out there to the world. Help me. Thank you. I appreciate you very much. Enlightened, empowered, evolved. See you soon.